I know that picking a way to store your cryptocurrency is like this huge sort of problem for a lot of people that maybe aren't aware of what the best way to store their crypto holdings and the safest way to sort of store their crypto holdings is. So essentially, what I'm looking to do here is to essentially sort of break down the different options that people have and sort of what option may work best for you and which option may work not the best for you, depending on your sort of priorities and what you consider more important. So, when it comes to choosing wallets for crypto, there's a lot of different options to choose. Now, I think I'm going to break it down into three different categories just to sort of simplify everything. So, number one, you have what people call cold wallets. So, essentially, cold wallets are pretty much the safest way to store your crypto. It's essentially like a hardware device, or in some cases, a piece of paper that stores the private key that unlocks your crypto holdings and essentially keeps the private key that is used to unlock them offline so as to prevent or make impossible a hacker to be able to get access to your private key and as a result access to your holdings. In order for someone to hack your account or gain access to your holdings, they would literally have to steal the physical thing that stores your private key. It would be impossible for them to hack it through the web because it's not stored on the web, it's stored on the hardware device. Now, what I have in front on my screen is one of the most popular hardware wallets out there. It's pretty well established, pretty secure. It's called Ledger. They're essentially Ledger is essentially like it's sort of like this flash drive looking device, but it's actually a little more complicated than that. It does a lot more than a flash drive. Essentially, what it does is it stores your crypto holdings and allows you to essentially so essentially what the Ledger devices allow you to do is they allow you to just buy crypto, store it on the wallet, and forget about it. That's kind of the point of using a hardware wallet, is especially for long-term investments, keeping your crypto holdings on an exchange or even on a web wallet can be pretty dangerous, and you are susceptible to that chance of hacking. So if you want sort of a sure chance that you're not going to be hacked, then it's definitely recommended to go for a cold wallet. So this is one of the models that Ledger sells. It's called the Ledger Nano S. It sells for about $60. It comes in a variety of different colors. So you've got options if you care about colors and stuff like that. And essentially how this works, I have one myself, is that you basically take the crypto that you have in your exchange that you bought it from or the web wallet that you bought it from, and you send it to the address that the hardware wallet has on it, and essentially then your crypto will be moved from that location that it originally was from, and it will be sent to your hardware wallet and protected by the private key that the hardware wallet contains within the device itself. So once you do that, your holdings, whatever they may be, whatever coins they may be, are essentially safe and stored. The key is stored on the device. See, a common thing that I think a lot of people have a misconception about is that their coins are stored in these hardware wallets, and that is actually not the case at all. What is stored on the wallet itself is the key to unlock the coins. Your coins or your tokens or whatever you want to, however you want to call them, are always on the web, right? They're digital. They're digital things. It's not really possible to make them physical things. But what you can do is essentially allow them to be protected by a private key that is stored on a paper or a hardware wallet like this one right here. They also have Ledger also has another device called the Ledger Nano X, which is sort of essentially the same thing as a Ledger Nano S. It's just twice as expensive, and it allows you to sort of keep track of your crypto like more easily on the go. So like if you were to check your crypto all the time and you were super hyperactive about that, then this would probably be the better option if you're willing to sink another $90 into mud. It's definitely a lot more expensive, but it's a lot easier for you to be able to sort of check your crypto more often, because with Ledger, with the Nano S, you can check your crypto as often as you want. It's just it requires a connection to your laptop, like an actual cord needs to be connected to your laptop. It's not really Bluetooth. It doesn't work wirelessly. So it is a little more troublesome, but ultimately, if you're just using it for the sake of just a long-term investment, I highly recommend the Nano S as opposed to the Nano X. And it essentially does the same thing, but it's a lot cheaper. There's also another option. It's called Trezor. It's essentially the same thing. It's just a different company that's doing the same thing. There's not really a particular advantage to using Trezor over Ledger. It really just comes down to what you think, I suppose, is the best value to you, or maybe perhaps you're more interested in having a larger screen. That's something that Trezor has. Ledger screens are very small. If I go back to Ledger here, the screen, as you can see, it's quite small. It's not impossible to see. I mean, you can look at it. It's not terrible, but it is a very small screen. Even with the Nano X, it's not exactly it's not a really big screen at all. It's basically at the same size, actually. It just kind of gives the impression that it's bigger because it's kind of like all transparently black. But the Trezor definitely has a much bigger screen, so if that's something that you value, then you could go with the Trezor instead. I guess it also depends on, you would have to see yourself, but it really depends on which cryptocurrency you're thinking about putting into these hardware wallets, because while both Trezor and Ledger support many, like thousands of cryptocurrencies, there are some cryptocurrencies that maybe Trezor only supports and Ledger doesn't, or maybe that Ledger supports and Trezor doesn't. And that is something to consider if you're maybe invested in something, or you have holdings in crypto that's not very popular or not really widely supported by these hardware wallets. So that is something to also consider. And then there's another sort of type of cold wallet, as you would say, and that's called a paper wallet. So this is just this website. It's called bitcoinpaperwallet.com. So if you're holding Bitcoin, what you can do with this website is you can essentially just generate a private key and print it, and it essentially will it'll have the address, it'll have the private key associated with that address, and you could send your holdings to that wallet, that paper wallet, and then the private key will be safe, printed out, and it will be physically with you. So this is pretty much just as safe, if not even safer, than hardware wallets. And I say that because with paper wallets, the difference is that there is literally nothing that can happen that would compromise your holdings at all. Like companies like Ledger and Trezor, I mean, these products, they're backed by companies, right? So say, I mean, this is very hypothetical and very unlikely, but say that either Trezor or Ledger just completely went bankrupt and they couldn't support, their devices anymore. Your device would still work fine, but if these companies went out of business and they never came back again, if your device were to ever stop working in like maybe years from now, that would be a huge problem for you, because then you wouldn't really be able to use it effectively for holding your crypto. When it comes to a paper wallet, it's essentially sort of timeless, as once you print that out, that's yours. There's no company behind it, there's no entity behind it, it's yours. You have full you don't need to move it anywhere. It's safe there. You could leave it there for 100 years and it should still be there. But companies like Trezor and Ledger, while the hardware wallet themselves, they have no control over, obviously, that's the whole point. You have your own cryptocurrency, you hold your own cryptocurrency. There is still a very small risk, in the sense that if these companies were to ever go bankrupt or go out of business and they were to never come back, your crypto would be fine as long as your device runs fine. But devices break down after years of use. Sometimes they stop working. That's a risk, right? And that may cause a hassle of having to move your crypto holdings out of the hardware wallet to another hardware wallet, or maybe a paper wallet, which would be much more simplified if you were to just create a paper wallet in the first place. With that said, however, there are some pretty big downsides. The great thing, and one of the big sides of having companies behind Ledger and Trezor, is the fact that you can recover your account. So say you were to lose your Ledger device, you were to lose your device where it got stolen. What Ledger does is they give you this sort of 23, I believe, word set of words, and essentially you keep that as a sort of secure paper that you keep with yourself and keep it somewhere safe. And essentially, if your Ledger device were to break or be compromised or anything were to happen to it, you could completely recover your holdings on Ledger by simply just giving them your 23 mnemonic phrase, and then you could get a new device and you could get your holdings backed up, and essentially it would be the same thing. So that is a potential thing. If you were to lose your paper wallet, then it's gone. It's gone forever. There's no chance pretty much that you're going to get your crypto back, because without your paper wallet, without the private key on that paper wallet, you're pretty much done. So that is a potential downside. If you were to ever lose it, you pretty much have no insurance. Whereas with these hardware wallets, if you were to lose these actual devices, you could get your holdings back by offering them the 23 mnemonic phrase. So it's sort of like a two sort of security layer. So like the only way for you to lose your holdings permanently is that if you lost the wallet and you lost the sort of 23 mnemonic phrase. So there's like a sort of a second like pillow cushion that you have to fall on in case you lose your wallet, whereas there's no cushion whatsoever if you lose your paper wallet. If you lose your paper wallet and you don't remember what the private key was, you're done. You will not have access to your crypto ever again. So that is something to consider. And then there's the traditional web wallets and mobile wallets. So one of the most popular and one of my favorite mobile wallets is Mycelium, which is specifically a Bitcoin wallet. But I think it's a very good way for especially beginners to start out when it comes to understanding crypto. And I think it's very easily accessible to do it through mobile. So Mycelium is essentially basically an app that allows you to send and receive Bitcoin. That's pretty much all it does, and it uses QR codes to allow you to do that. And then you can scan your friends' Mycelium QR codes, and then you can send them crypto. And then I think it really gives a good sense of how crypto works and how it sends and receives. And while it is only for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ERC20 tokens, it is a very good way to just understand and sort of start out in understanding how this stuff is sent and received. And I think it's good to teach people basically just how crypto works. So Mycelium is a very good option if you want to sort of just kind of trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other ERC20 tokens with your friends or family, or whoever maybe you could pay people with this. It's sort of like Venmo but for Bitcoin, so it works pretty well that way. And that it is a very, very good option for mobile. Another great thing about Mycelium actually is that they are also actually compatible with hardware wallets. So essentially you could secure your funds from Mycelium with hardware wallets and paper wallets. So it allows you to sort of have more flexibility as to how you want to store your crypto, and you could have a Mycelium account and you could have a hardware wallet connected to that. And it would still be safe because it's the private keys themselves are not stored on Mycelium. They're stored on the hardware wallets themselves. And then you can have access to sort of what's going on in your holdings and how your holdings are doing, how your portfolio is doing through the Mycelium app. So that is another potential plus. Generally speaking, though, it really just comes down to whether you want a cold wallet, i.e. hardware paper, or a hot wallet, so web wallet, or mobile wallets. So I think it really depends on what you prioritize. If you don't really care to spend a little bit of extra money to really keep your your holdings safe,